Just wanted to go through lesson 10.6, models for nonlinear data. So we're going to use the data that's on the back of lesson 10.6. So I put that into my calculator. Remember, I go to stat, and the keystrokes are down here if you want to keep track. And then I hit edit, and there's my data. And you just go over and you enter all the data in years after 2000 and then the units sold. So we're looking at iPhone sales during opening weekends, okay? And these are in millions of iPhones, okay? And so we've got the data in the calculator, and then we want to look at the data. So we do the second stat plot. This is all review. We turn the plot, we've got the plot on. We've got the data in L1 and L2. We can set our window to, and I set it at 5 since my first number is 7 in the X values. My domain goes from 7 to 15, so my X values go a little bit below, a little bit above. And my range goes from 0.5 up to 13, so I did 0 to 15 in my range. And then I can look at the graph. Oh, sorry, let me get rid of that. So then I can look at the graph. And when I look at this data, it doesn't look too linear, but I can still fit a linear model on it. So this is also review. I go to stat and calculate and linear regression. We're going to go to number 8. I've got my data in L1 and L2, and I'm going to store my regression equation. And remember, the shortcut to do that is alpha F4, unless you have an older calculator. So I'm going to do Y1 there. If you have an older calculator, it's vars, and then you go to yvars, function Y1, okay? So that's the other way to do it. And then I hit calculate, and now I have my regression equation. And just like you did in the check your understanding, your regression equation is going to be y hat equals the a value negative 12.63 plus 1.605. So that means that for every year increase, I should expect to sell about 1.6 million more iPhones. That's the slope. My R value and my R squared value is pretty good, 0.91. So that's pretty good. But then if I look at the graph, does the line really seem to fit it that well? Looks like something else might be better. So I'm going to go ahead and take a look at a quadratic regression. Just like for number 2, it asks you to do, a quadratic. So we're going to go to stat, and then we're going to go to calculate. And I see here quad reg. Just like we had lin reg, quad reg is quadratic regression. So you're going to hit number 5. There's your data. And instead of overwriting my other equation, I'm going to store my new equation now in Y2, okay? And then hit calculate, and just like in the check your understanding, it tells you that it's 1.196 x squared plus, minus 2.707 x, and then my constant C is 9.79. My R squared is even better here though, 0.98. Now let's go take a look at it. And I stored it in a different equation. So if I take a look at the graph, there's my linear. And then in red, there is my quadratic. Yours might be a different color. Okay? And let's just try one more for kicks and giggles. If I go and I want to calculate an exponential like we did during the lesson, we go to, again, stat. And then we're going to go to calculate. And this time we're going to do an exponential regression. So you're going to use your arrow key to scroll down till I find exponential regression right there. Hit enter. Again, there's my data, L1, L2. And this time I'm going to store it in Y3. So alpha F4. And I'm going to store it in Y3 and hit calculate. This is not on the check your understanding, but I'm going to go ahead and do that. And my R squared is actually a little bit lower here, 0.969. And if I take a look at my graph, now I've got my linear first, then my quadratic, and last but not least, my exponential here coming up in green. And that looks pretty good, but it's not as good as the quadratic. Okay, friends, so there you go. There's some models for nonlinear data. And again, all the keystrokes are down here. And last thing is that just to remember, if you need to, on an older calculator, it's vars, y-vars, function, and that's how you get your y-vars. All right, my friends, happy homeworking.